In one of my previous videos, I showed you all of my studio lighting setups. I talked about different reasons I would use each setup and showed you some images taken with each one. Now, each setup is getting its own video where I talk more in depth about it. In this video, we'll talk about Speedlights. Now, I have 3 Nikon SB800s here, but the same information really goes for any brand of flash and many different models. To begin with, let's talk about the flexibility of these little guys, because that's really the big benefit of them. Well, that and their relatively inexpensive price tag, but let's talk more about the flexibility. First, you've probably seen these on cameras before. You affix it to your camera's hot shoe or connected to the camera with a cable. But that's not what we'll be talking about today. You can take these guys off camera, which is what we're focused on today. They come with little stands. You can set the Speedlights on the ground or on flat surfaces, or even put them on a light stand or tripod. So this means that you can set these guys up in the studio or even outside the studio and use them as you would any other studio lighting. And since we're talking logistics, these come with several modifiers. First, there is some attached stuff here. You have a bounce card. This is so that you can prevent light from going back here and direct it all this way. You also have a diffuser. This will widen the area of light that is output and soften a little bit. And you can use these together or you can use them alone. And then you have this larger diffuser. This will not only further widen the area of light that comes out, but it will also soften the light a whole lot. And then there's a whole slew of other modifiers that you can purchase for these as well, like snoods or tiny umbrellas. I actually made these large reflectors. They're like the little bounce cards that are attached, but on steroids. It's so that the area of light that is bounced back is much larger. On to the actual physical flexibility of these flashes. You can actually move the light head all around like so. Because of that and because of the small size, these are great to use in small spaces. Also, they have adjustable output. You can use TTL when you have them on camera or when you're using them with Nikon Creative Lighting System, or you can manually set the output to customize how much light is produced. So, what does this all boil down to? Flexibility. You can aim the light where you want it, you can modify the light if you want to, you choose how much light you want, all to create different lighting effects in your photos. I showed you some photos in my previous video where I got different lighting effects. Let's take a look at some of those again. You can go traditional with 2 Speedlights aimed at the subject. Keeping the power of one light lower than the other will give you some dimension. You can add one behind the subject to create a halo light effect. Or you can take a couple away and use one Speedlight for a low-key effect. It's fun to change the position of the light in the low-key setting to change where on the subject the light falls. For a high-key look, I use my homemade bounce cards on 2 Speedlights on light stands aimed at the backdrop to get a large area of light bounced back onto the white backdrop behind the subject. Then I can use Speedlights or any other lighting to illuminate the subject. And one thing I didn't talk about before, one other big benefit, is the portability of these Speedlights. They're super easy to bring along on location. Not only because they're small, but also because they are battery powered. Bring a few extra AA's along with you and you're set to take photos anywhere for a long time. Oh, and they come with these soft cases, which hold the flash and the accessories that they come with. Makes them really easy to travel with. So I've mentioned traveling with them and using them in small spaces. In these photos, I took my show into the garage and I was able to put the Speedlights around and under the car for the different shots. I definitely wouldn't have been able to do that with a larger set of lights. So I've talked about how great these little guys are, but are there any drawbacks? Like, why wouldn't everyone simply use Speedlights for everything? Other than personal preference, there are some reasons why you would choose something other than Speedlights. First, while these provide me all the light that I need for in my studio or in small spaces, there are situations where you will need the higher power and output of larger strobes. Also, these do provide a flash of light, but there is no continuous light. So you will need some sort of ambient light to be able to see if you're in a low-key situation. You also won't be able to preview your lighting effect without taking a photo as you would with continuous lighting. And you can't use these lights for video, again, because they don't provide continuous light. On a similar note, you also have to trigger them. There are several options, including using Nikon's Creative Lighting System or the other brand's equivalent systems. I trigger these optically when they're off camera using SU4 mode. So that does it for Speedlights. I've included a couple links in the description of this video where you can find out more information on some of Nikon's Speedlights. Also, head to snapchick.com. I have one of the photos you saw today posted along with some camera settings, and for VIPs, I have a whole gallery of images, plus a video where I talk more in depth about some of the setups that I did for the photos in this video.